Hello and welcome to my heart project, the podcast Meditation and Healing. Today I have the honor to share with you the interview which I've had with Sophie and Nuno. Both are body-oriented therapists, and I had the opportunity to talk with them about their work. I was very fascinated and very touched how they work with clients and couples, because they are creating a space of trust, of warmly heart contact, of awareness and mindfulness. And it was for me a very, very touching interview, because it is a holistic and soul-oriented work with people. And I hope you will be enriched and motivated by the interview. Let's go. Nuno and Sophie, I'm very grateful to talk to you, and thank you for your time. And my questions for you also will relate to the work you do as a couple. And my first question is, what are the most important principles to elevate a relationship as a couple?
Well, thank you, Marcus, first of all, for inviting us. We are really happy and excited to have this exchange with you, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And answering your first question, we would say that part of our work, Sophie and I, we are both body-oriented psychotherapists, that we have developed this relational model that we call authentic leadership model. And this model has 6 different principles that are interdependent, intertwined amongst each other. And it's a relational model that we feel and trust that can be applied in every context and in every relationship. So also amongst couples, we feel that it's a very helpful and insightful way of looking of how people relate. So we name these 6 principles as sacred space. That's the first principle. So how do we transition into a special quality of relating, creating a sacred space where we can actually meet each other. And when that space is created, then we name 4 other principles that we called embodied presence. So how do we start by relating to ourselves first? And then when we come into connection with ourselves, comes another principle which we call empathic resonance.
Okay.
So how can we vibrate with each other? How can our frequencies meet and co-create something that it's bigger than just 2 individual selves? And then we speak about deep listening. So when I'm present to myself, when I'm actually meeting the other person, what kind of deep wisdom and information do I have access in my own system, so that I can bring that into the relationship? And then we talk about the principle of authenticity. How do I show up myself in my vulnerability, in my core qualities? So when the sacred space is created, and when these 4 principles are showing up, emerging within that sacred space, we believe that there is a 6th principle, which is the manifestation of all of the other, that we call encounter.
Okay, so let me repeat it that I understand it. You create a sacred space, something like a safe place where you can show everything that's inside you, your vulnerability and your light, and then 4 other qualities or principles.
Yeah.
And then you develop, then are the 6 you talk, it's now, okay. The 4 qualities are the deep listening, the
embodied presence,
embodied presence,
empathic resonance,
and
authenticity.
Authenticity. Okay. So that sounds like these are universal principles for every relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, if these principles become alive in the way how you relate, especially in intimate relationship with your partner, you most likely not get caught up into the idea and the image that you have of your partner, but that you meet your partner new again. Because it's about the moment, it's about becoming present, it's about truly listening to your deepest impulse. So in a way, I feel it helps to see each other new, which creates a lot of vitality and aliveness and dynamic in a relationship.
When I hear this, it sounds like a project. I think to be present, to see your partner as he or she is, and the first thing is to listen to your inner voice. I mean, that's qualities that's deep buried in ourselves, aren't they? Yeah. Okay. What's the next 6 principles you wanted to talk about?
Well, the 6th principle we call it the encounter, which means that it's not the encounter that happens with the empathic resonance. So in the empathic resonance, we start to vibrate together. We find a similar frequency where we can see each other. So we relate as 2 individual selves, creating a bridge. But the 6th principle, the encounter, is in those rare moments, but very special moments, where we have an experience of almost losing the borders of me and you, where we can meet each other almost on a different state of existence, let's say, which are these moments where it seems like time ceases to run, it seems like space loses the normal borders, and we meet each other on a quality of almost a transcendent state, let's say. And this doesn't happen very often, but each one of us has had moments where this has happened before, and we trust that when we create this base, this foundation with the other 5 principles, the conditions are created so that this can emerge more frequently. Okay.
Wow, it sounds like a astonishing way. And okay, I'm a little bit flashed right now because it sounds very. I will be honest. Some part of me thinks it's a little bit utopic, because where can we see nowadays such quality of relationship? It is. I mean, we are on a planet of polarity, of borders, of bodies. Yeah, we have these concepts of guilt and yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, I feel this is our deepest longing that we all share, that we truly relate with each other. So in a way, I think this is what we are all thriving for, and this model and the principles gives a bit of a guidance, a bit of an orientation. So what can I do, to come into real contact with you? Okay, maybe we first need an intentional space for that, especially when we are a couple. It's not happening between closing the doors and taking care of the kids and doing whatever we need to do. It really requires a moment of hey, now we really want to be together. So there can be an intention, and then I can see what's alive in me right now, who I am now. And when I'm here, actually, who are you? Yeah, then I start like we do now. We tune in with each other. We shared before the interview how we feel and what's alive. And then we start to slowly to get in tune and to vibrate, to resonate with each other. And then something happens. Okay, there's some contact. And what would happen if I add to that contact? What is my impulse now? What is my biggest picture? What is maybe a risk to take with you? Yes, in a relationship, and to have the courage to bring that authentically with all the vulnerability that involves. I believe that we do this all the time, and I agree. We are in a state of separation and polarity and all of that, and in between we have these moments, and I believe that we all long for that there's a big yearning to truly relate.
And although it can be very challenging to tune into these principles, all of these are qualities that are with us the whole time. So of course, because of our history, because of our conditioning, because of our lifestyle, we might be a bit detached from these qualities, but they're there. We have a body. We have the ability to be tuned with our inner guidance, with our wisdom. This wisdom has been with us for millions of years. We are the result of a process of evolution, of universal intelligence, and we have access to that when we give ourselves the space to tune into that. And we also have the ability, when we really tune in, to transcend the apparent limitations that this body, that this mind brings to us in daily life. So yes, it's very challenging, and at the same time it can be very accessible to reach these qualities. So that's the paradox. And every time that we meet a paradox, also something has the potential to open up and manifest itself.
Okay. Yeah, can you tell me more about these principles? So, these 6 that you mentioned? What is also necessary to encounter this quality that you mentioned?
So I can maybe start and talk about the first, that we call the sacred space.
Yes.
And we see this first principle as two-folded. One is what you mentioned, it brings safety.
Yeah.
So the sacredness of the space brings the safety, knowing that we are creating a special moment, a special bubble, where we invite ourselves and invite the other to step out of the daily life, busy life, and to step into another quality of relating. And that brings safety. For example, in our therapeutic setting, our clients, knowing that what day of the week, what time of the day, for those 60 minutes, that time is reserved for them, brings a certain structure. And that brings the safety. Knowing that it's confidential, that it's anonymous, that we as therapists don't speak of what's happening in that space. All of that brings a certain safety. And then the second side of this principle, besides the safety, it's the connection to the ability to ritualize our life. So this dimension of the ritual the power of the ritual that has been with us for generations and generations and generations also helps us to tune in with a special quality of relating. So the preparation, the specialness that we give to that space and to that moment also helps us to transition from what we call the ordinary life into what we call the extraordinary life. Mm-hmm. And we cannot be in that space the whole day, every minute, but we can really focus and bring the intention to create those moments and those spaces in particular special moments, particular special relationships. Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, we could say a lot about it, of course. Okay. We have a whole program where we explore these principles, but in a nutshell, this is the sacred space.
So I continue with embodied presence, the second principles, and it's all about becoming present and to use our body to fully be there. Mm-hmm. So it can be simply to connect with our breath, to feel our body, to move, to just sit. There's also where the aspect of a spiritual practice comes in, because we all have our unique ways, our favorite ways of becoming present. For some it's like I sit in the morning or in the evening, I meditate. For some is ecstatic dancing and movement. I do yoga every day. It's a way to help myself to truly connect with my body and to check in. Okay, how am I in my physical body? How am I in my emotional body? How's my heart doing? What's going on in my mind? And to bring that base of truly becoming present to myself in order to making the next step to extend that container and to include you, another being.
Okay. Wow. I was asking myself, if a couple comes to you in couple therapy, how do you support them to create it? I mean, there's so many little steps. So many people don't have really contact to their bodies and to their feelings. This is so, I mean, it takes a year or two or a lifetime.
Yeah. And thank you for that question, because we can give a good example. Like every couple session that we would start, as Nuno was saying, we take care of the sacred space, and then the first thing what we do, being 4 people in the room, is we hold hands. So we connect our hands, and we invite us and them to breathe, to close eyes for a moment, to feel the feet, to ground. And that's also, I mean, it's very simple guidance. It's everything is simple, and we know all of this, but to take a moment to do that, it already makes a difference. We feel different. I feel different if I touch Nuno, if I feel Nuno, if I feel his hand. I feel different if I feel them. It's different if I start to breathe, if let's come in intention, and the next step would be to express our intention and to ask for their intention, and already to speak that out. For example, I would love to stay connected with my body and with what I feel, and to guide you with that, to guide you from that place, or to be there with an open heart. That already brings a lot of presence and energy into this space. And I agree, of course, it's a lifelong path. And yeah, as Nuno already said, we are that animal body, we are that body, and we can access it. It's a decision.
Yes.
To bring our focus there every moment, and that's how we invite couples to land in the space. And then only after that attunement we would ask, okay, what's going on? What do you bring? What's the point? What's the, let's say, the problem? Yeah, let's hear and talk about it. But let's talk about it and hear it from a place where we are connected to our bodies.
Yeah, and we can also say that when a couple comes to therapy, usually, not necessarily, but usually, they come because they're in a moment of stuckness, they're in a moment of conflict, they're in a moment of separation. They might not be considering to actually separate, but they are not meeting in their relationship. So two things are happening usually, which is first, they are stuck in some relational dynamic, and they are stuck in a communication pattern. They are stuck in a certain emotional setting. And the second thing is, most of the time they're also stuck in their past. They are relating to each other from a moment of their past, a moment that was traumatic, a moment that brought a lot of unsafety, and a moment that brought a lot of detachment from life, from themselves, and from others.
Yeah.
So because we use this body-oriented approach, we invite them to share verbally where they are, what's happening to them, how they perceive their relationship, how they perceive themselves, how they perceive their partners.
Yeah.
But then, because of this principle of the embodied presence, it's so important that we help them to not disconnect from the principle or the center of the mind. We also work with the mind, but we want to include the heart, and we want to include the body, we want to include the guts. So we help them to ground, we help them to breathe, we help them to embody themselves, so that there's a bigger alignment, so that all of these qualities can be brought into the therapeutic setting, the session, so that they can find new ways to connect with themselves and new ways to relate with one another, to bring them out of that stuckness. So the words are important because this is how they communicate also with each other out of the therapeutic setting, out of the session. But we need to bring other tools, other resources, so that they can see parts of themselves and parts of their partners that are usually not in the picture when they are stuck in this pattern of relating.
Okay, I'm really touched right now, and it sounds like you create a fundament, a new fundament of embodiment, of new perception of themselves and each other, and from this fundament start to reconnect. Maybe it's like this. Yeah. So it's a very body-orientated work.
Yes.
And from my point of view, it's the only necessary. It's the only way, because we are humans. Huh? Yeah.
And I would like to add to that body-oriented work, just to bring in the word of energy, because as Nuno was talking right now, we can talk a lot in relationships. Yeah, we have discussions and conversations with our partner. And somehow what we try to explore with the couple is to bring the energy behind the words, beyond the words. Yeah. Because you feel the energy anyways. Yeah. If you listen to a couple, you feel the tension, you feel the resentment, you feel the negativity, the blame, the accusation, the guilt. Yeah, you feel all of this, the shame. You also feel the love, the longing, the desires, the tenderness. We feel all of this, and somehow being in a relationship, we often hold back to directly communicate it. It's as if we have our walls, our mask, our defense mechanism in between, and the energy is not communicating directly. And then it comes to these places which feel really stuck, which doesn't feel alive, where it's not flow, where it's not fun, where it's not juicy, not sexy. Yeah, it's we all know this. We also know it. We get stuck. And why I love working with couples with this body-oriented approach is that in such a short time, when we invite them and encourage them to bring out the energy that is behind, to allow myself to come with the blame directly, and put you down for 1 minute, they start laughing. It's so much fun to finally let it out, what I always wanted to tell you, and we do it indirectly the whole time, but when we dare to do it for 1 minute fully, it brings up a lot of aliveness. They're lightening up, it's light suddenly in the room, although we said the worst things to each other, and we hit on the cube and we scream. Suddenly the energy, the frequency is much more lighter. It clears the way for true connection again, and sometimes there's sadness, there's pain, and it's so healing to allow that. And in most of our experience, then the love comes through, the compassion, the longing to connect. So that's what we also focus, to really move the energy, especially with couples where it can be like no one is moving and I'm just waiting for you to do the next step, and to bring us out of this stuckness.
So it sounds, you need this safe place and you need this connection with the clients, and so there's a circle of trust like this, and it's very intimate. But wow, I'm fascinated, and some deep part in me gets a resonance, and this is like it should be, because you can't solve most of the problems on this level of the mind. You need to go 1 feet down.
And then it becomes even fun, because the energy helps us. It's guiding us. It's alive.
So it's like showing all the cards. That's my guilt, that's my shame, and
the blaming. There's so much blaming in intimate relationships because of you, and to step out of that blaming, to transition from you sentences, you are doing this, you are doing that, I'm reacting to you because you are doing this or bringing that into the relationship, to transition from you sentences to I sentences. It's very, very, very challenging, but at the same time, it can be very healing and transformative.
Yeah.
And we often say this a bit as a joke, but we at the same time truly believe this. I mean, as therapists, we've been doing our own personal therapy for many years. You can have all sorts of experiences in life. You can do ayahuasca journeys, sweat lodges, all of these transformative experiences that can bring so much awareness and insights. But we truly believe that deep, intimate, committed relationships are the space where you can really look into yourself. You can really look into your wounds. You can really look into your patterns. You can really transform what prevents you from fully embody, experience, and express your potential. Because it's where we feel more vulnerable. It's where we feel that we need to protect ourselves the most, because our heart is so exposed. And at the same time is where we express our most deepest shadows.
Wow.
And it's where we get triggered also. So this is where we cannot hide the shadow parts in us.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it's so challenging, but so powerful.
That leads me to my next question. Is it necessary to talk about all the problems in life that we have in the relationship? Is it necessary to show all the cards? Or is it okay to deal with some things out of the relationship with my best friend, with my male friends or female friends, and as a woman? Is it necessary to bring everything in the relationship?
Yeah, we were addressing that question a bit last night, talking, and we believe that not. We believe that it's part of the partnership to be two individual selves. So, of course, it's very important to address the topics, the issues that are creating separation, distance, conflict, but we are still two individual selves that have their own private, subjective, inner world, inner space, and not everything needs to be addressed and cleared, because we are not fusion together.
And I would like to add, we even have the responsibility to take care of our shit, of our stuff. And it can be very helpful to clear some things with my friends or my therapist, because it's about me, it's about my past, it's about my issues that I would bring in the relationship. And I don't have every time to bother Nuno again with that. I can also take the responsibility to take care of it. And at the same time, of course, everything that is so relevant for us. The cards that are really important to our relationship. It's not about hiding anything. That's not what I mean. But it's about not putting more on our relationship than necessary. To keep the space clear, to keep it clean. It's like our relational space, our living room. How do we want it? Full of stuff. Every time I have something, I just put it out, or can I contain it and really communicate it in a meaningful way with you, and also take care of it. So I think it needs both. It really needs the transparency with relevant issues, and also the responsibility to contain and to work things out, to process things on my own, that I really own this.
Yeah.
And when you realize that something is not being processed and digested in these other spaces, and you feel that this topic is bringing a disturbance in the field, in the relational field, then it's important, of course, to address it and to be clear about it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you need to find, as Sophie just mentioned, that proper balance between your individual self and the partnership that we have together, and the respect that we agreed upon as a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very authentic answers. Thank you. What aspect has spirituality in relationship?
Mm.
And, I mean, you talked the last 20 minutes about sacred space. Somehow you already answered it, but is the sacred space only here on earth, or does it need a higher level we need to connect in relationships?
Yeah, I really love this question of spirituality in a relationship, and what comes to me is as a couple to be connected to a bigger space, that it's not our bubble, the two of us, but that we are kind of held in a much bigger space. And that's of course on a level of community. I think that's very important, to be held and to be mirrored, to be supported on this journey of growth, because I think Nuno said it so beautifully, to be in an emotional committed relationship, it's really a spiritual practice. It's like it's a way to enlightenment, you could say, because it is so challenging. So I feel it needs a very, very deep commitment to growth.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, I will stay here and I will look at everything that will come, and to still stay and to see, how do I relate, how do I act, how do I deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me already is a very spiritual Ausrichtung, yeah, for growth.
Mm-hmm.
And to also be even held in a much bigger space where we meet beyond the personal behaviors, yeah, that I get so triggered.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, we are two souls meeting,
Mm-hmm.
that we are one, that we are in essence the same,
Mm-hmm.
and also to have that awareness with everything that we are going through and struggling, yeah, on earth, in our relational space, yeah, that is real, that we have this awareness and this bigger space of, hey, and this asshole that is sitting in front of me, yeah, that is not doing that and not doing that, and so hard, that this is the soul I choose to grow with.
Mm-hmm.
to meet, and it's for a reason. I feel this gives a spaciousness to it.
Yeah. I feel that what Sophie is expressing now brings again the power of the paradox. Like the same way that we say that there is no separation between mind and body, we are not this dual being that has a mind and a body. We are a mind-body organism that is connected. We also experience in our own lives that spirituality is not only a practice of vertical alignment, let's say. Of course, we can do our yoga or meditation or practices with ourselves that bring this alignment. But because we are in this physical dimension, spirituality is also a practice in this horizontal alignment. So that's the real challenge. How do we stay centered, not only when we are aligning ourselves in our own space, but when we are living our daily lives, our busy lives, or confrontative relationships. And the meeting of these two axes, let's say, we believe that it's a very powerful portal to experience our spirituality, because we are embodied in this physical universe. So when we mention this sixth principle, this principle of the encounter, is really how can we connect with our divine beings as we relate to one another. How do we bring our essence in those moments, and not only when we go into the forest and create a space of silence and a space of internal centeredness, but how do we stay connected with those qualities through this dimension, this horizontal way of experiencing the divine.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not only this dimension of the connecting to the spirituality, is only this the horizontal dimension as a human being with all these things that living in us. And I'm so flashed, sorry. I can't repeat everything, but I understand what you said.
Okay.
So it's the connection of these levels, the horizontal and the what's this?
Vertical.
The vertical level, yeah. And where's the center point of these levels?
Well, my first reaction to your question would be the heart. But at the same time, it's not a separation. It can be the mind. It can be the gut. But it's, I would say, the integration of all of this. So if the intention is to go from a dual perspective to a non-dual, then I would say that, and I hope this is not too mindy, in a non-dual experience, there is no separation. It's not, oh, now I'm in this dimension, so I'm not in contact with God, or now I'm in this dimension, so I'm separated from something else. If we are actually in the process of becoming, and for me, that's the most spiritual experience that I can have, that I just allow myself to be in the flow of the moment and to experience myself, life, and the world as a never-ending process of becoming, then I experience that alignment. Then I experience that I am something than just my individual self, but I don't lose my individual self. It's not this trance experience where I am completely disconnected also from this dimension in this reality. So how do I find the meeting point of these two. And of course, the heart experiencing the love is an experience where we can say, I was there. But it can be a mindful experience. It can be a gut experience.
Mm-hmm.
But are these moments, this very volatile, sporadic moments where we are there, just surfing the wave, and then of course it stops, it ends. And then we try to find it again and again and again without pushing it, because otherwise we don't find it either.
Okay. In a relationship of a couple, is it necessary that both partners do their work to grow, to develop? Or is it okay that one partner says, hey, I'm fine with myself, I'm already almost enlightened, I don't need this?
Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary that both look in the mirrors and look at the shadows?
Ideally, yes, I would say. And the example you just brought, that there is someone saying, hey, I'm almost enlightened and there's no need. If this is also expressing itself in the relationship, it's great. But oftentimes, my experience is that if one does a lot of work, is really on it, in their own process, it brings things to the relationship. It's bringing some tension, some questions, some issues. If I make a move, out of my, let's say, safety defense, because I'm becoming more myself, I'm allowing myself to be more alive, to have more energy, I'm making a move, it will affect you. And if you're already almost enlightened, you're fine and you can just move with this. But many times if one person starts working, it puts a kind of a pressure on the other person to also to respond to that, to adjust, to move, to find a way how we grow together.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if the discrepancy is strong, it would either lead into the other person also having to look at things that will be in the space as a confrontation, as a healthy confrontation, or it might be, and that happens sometimes, that the paths go apart. We decide to end that relationship. It can be an outcome.
Okay.
And that would be almost a trap in itself, I feel. If someone would say, hey, I don't need it anymore because I'm close to enlightenment, that would be a certain attachment to an idea of oneself. So that per se would be a contradiction, because the person would be seeing himself as crystallizing into something and stepping out of this constant process of becoming. So for me, that would be a red flag of someone stopping, asking and questioning what's happening inside of oneself. So definitely it doesn't need to be through therapy, it doesn't need to be through something a specific kind of work, but definitely to always question and wonder and research internally where we stand as human beings in this process of transformation, and to see where we stand as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Because that transformation can drift people apart, and that's also okay. But if there is an intention to stay connected, I feel it's very important that we keep on researching together where we stand.
Yeah. Thank you very much. One part of me is very overwhelmed and I have to digest all this for right now. And I'm very grateful and I'm very touched. And my last question is if people are curious to find you and to work with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, we both have a website. It's very simple. It's our names. It's nunosalema.com and sophiedelacaze.com. We work in Berlin-Pankow. We have our practice there. We do their individual work, couples work, and also group process. And we are about to start a new, the second edition of our HEAL, our holistic embodiment for authentic leadership training program. It starts at the end of February. So we are available to do live and also due to the current times also online work. Very happy to continue the conversation, and it's really a pleasure to talk with you. It's very inspiring.
You hold a very sacred space.
It's so beautiful to receive your resonance. It makes it really, really easy to express. So thank you for this gift.
Thank you. And so let's close it and enjoy this moment.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.